Am I the bad guy for repairing my yard after my mother-in-law destroyed it? So, for background, my mother-in-law weaves my basement suit. Not the issue, a lot may think it is due to not being able to speak the same language. And she babysits my 4 and 2 years old when my wife and I work. One day, after I noticed that my son wasn't able to drive his ride-on car onto the patio because it was 2 inches above the yard, she opted to pile up soil and gravel on the grass to create a ramp he can go up onto the patio space with rather than just have him drive the car on the yard clockwise, where he could already drive up onto the patio space. The logic behind that still escapes me. I take a pride in my yard. I like having nice, soft, and even grass for the kids to play on rather than a dry, patchy, half-barren stretch of dust. She knows that. She knows the work I put into it. She even made sure I know it was my wife that burned a patch in my grass last year, trying to deal with ants by pouring boiled water on it. Cause she didn't want me thinking it was her, but she still peeled soil and gravel on the section of the backyard in the early spring, and I hadn't noticed till it was time to begin my annual yard work preparing for the season, like trimming hedges, killing weeds, first mow, reseeding, fertilizing, etc. By then the damage was done. Grass was gone, soil packed, tiled like concrete, loose gravel spread all over the yard like land mines for my mower blade is show up now. It took me to the afternoon to dig out, loosen and level the soil again, to pick up all the gravel and an entire 5 kilograms bag of lawn patch and repair, mulch, seed, fertilizer to fix it. It will be late into the summer before it begins to look like it's filling out again. Today, after a light rainfall overnight, I was checking to see if it needed more watering when my mother-in-law stormed out by trying to tell me that pile of soil and gravel has to be there for my son. I lost my cool in return and angrily signaled to her that he still can drive the car while doing things she's just clockwise around the yard and through the patio. She stormed back into the suite and later told my wife that if I didn't like how she was babysitting the kids, I can take care of them myself. I do. She just does it when I'm actually working. Again, I struggle with the logic. There is the issue was that my yard was destroyed in an attempt to not get my son to change direction when he drives his little car, and not that she isn't watching them. My wife has taken her side, arguing she has the right to do whatever she wants to our property. So I'm at the bad guy for repairing my yard after my mother-in-law destroyed it. I'm at the bad guy for prioritizing my downtime when I get out of work. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, currently to our 3 kids, and she is also currently pregnant with a boy. Our 3 kids are 4, triplets, 2 girls and a boy. Her job is incredibly hard. I will never downplay the struggles of a stay-at-home parent. The kids are super rambunctious on the top of that. We also have 2 high-energy dogs that also have anxiety and whine non-stop. My wife gets touched out often, and try as I may, it never seems like I can correct it for her. Now I own my own business. My wife runs the finances on it. She wants to, she says it's her way of contributing. And honestly, she's the reason it's so successful. Sure, she isn't doing the physical labor of it, but I'm not exactly great with the money like she is. So, when I first opened the business, it plummeted fast, but she corrected my mistakes and turned it into a very successful business. I'm in debt to her, honestly, and again, I will never downplay her role. The issue is that whenever my wife gets touched out, she gets really snappy and irritable if I don't do things immediately when getting home. Whether it be doing dishes, or running a bath for kids, or tending to the dogs, etc., etc. Or this is what it feels like anyways, but that could be work stress talking. So I talked to her about it last night because when I got home, she immediately said, "Thank God you're home. Can you please help me?" I did help, And she went and did her thing, but later on I said, "You know, honey, I would really appreciate if you let me prioritize my downtime for a bit." When I get home, instead of immediately asking me to do everything the second I walked through the door, she got angry, didn't say anything at all, just went to sleep on the couch. The next day, she sent me a multi-page text explaining her position, saying that the fact that she even has to ask me for help is draining, and the fact that I feel the need to prioritize myself when I have kids at home and a touch-out pregnant wife who's struggling to keep up her mental health is selfish and inconsiderate. She also said that she shouldn't have to keep running on empty for me to get downtime when she never gets any downtime unless she asks me first. Because once the kids are settled, she still has to be a wife, a show of affection. I never asked this of her. It's just who she is as a person. I haven't responded yet, but am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for telling my parents why I get toys from my family and friends and do not share with little kids? I just got my 50th birthday. I got exactly 3 kinds of gifts: liqueur, toys, Lego, and a new planner. That is actually perfect for me. I already own everything I need. My parents bugged me about still getting toys and budget me more for putting them away without opening them and letting the youngest kids there play with them. I said that most of the stuff I got was either collectible or too advanced for the littlest, and that I could pull out my tube of random Lego if my parents wanted to watch them because the rest of us were enjoying the party. My parents just kept at telling me that toys were meant for children and that I was being immature, not sharing toys. When I was back, my mom went into my office and grabbed my new X-Wing set for the grandkids and grandkids to play with. My grandson came and got me because he knew my rules. He's 5. I came into the house and took the box back before they got any of the bags out. I put in my office and locked the door. My mom said I was being a jerk, so I just reminded her that when I was a kid, they used to give away my toys. One Christmas, they had forgotten to get a gift for someone, and this was when stores were not open, so they waited until after I opened my gifts. They picked one, rewrapped it, and took it with them to give away. I was 6. It wasn't the first time, and it wasn't the last. I brought up a few more examples. They were embarrassed and laughed because I may have been louder than necessary because of some of my other gifts. My parents have been calling me and saying that I'm a bad guy for bringing up short from decades ago, asking them if they never wondered why I made sure to destroy the packaging or delicate parts of toys my entire childhood. I knew that it wouldn't give away damaged goods to other people. They are mad and my sister thinks I went too far calling them out in public. So, am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for telling my mother I'm more important than her? My husband and I have been trying for a baby since the year of the last year, and we've just now around 11 weeks along. We decided as a cute idea to do a pregnancy reveal to my mother for Mother's Day. It went well, and we made sure to tell her specifically that we were not posting or announcing anything until at least the end of the first trimester, but that we didn't want anyone else to find out until we got a chance to tell them personally. She told a friend within hours. My husband and I brushed it off because her friend wasn't part of our circle, and the odds of other findings out through her were slim to none. But we made sure to remind my mother we weren't telling anyone. By the end of the night, one of my aunts was already on the phone congratulating me. Within 24 hours, my mother had a grandma reveal Facebook post out for all friends and family to see. She asked me through text at midnight and didn't even wait an hour to post it. We managed to get her to take the post down after it had been up for 14 hours. But some people found out about our pregnancy who we haven't been ready to tell. My mother apologized. but always made sure to say only a few people had seen, and she has already taken it down, so it wasn't a big deal. Here's where I shall say that all I ever wanted was a Jeannie apologize for spoiling a big moment, with the promise that she wouldn't do it again and a basic understanding of why I was upset. She couldn't figure it out, and ended up becoming defensive. She started calling me bully for trying to make her feel bad and saying I was ridiculous for holding onto all this anger over something so small. She said I was denying her by not letting her tell anyone about her soon-to-be grandmother status, and that if we hadn't wanted people to know, we shouldn't have told anyone. I snapped, and here is where I may be the bad guy. I sent a very harsh message to her. I said she had the emotional maturity of a 5-year-old and a complete disregard for anyone's feelings but her own. That sounds to be mother trumped grandmother. That she wasn't the priority here. I was. And I was tired of catering to her feelings while she stepped all over mine. I told her that only person I shouldn't have told was her, since no one else seemed to have trouble keeping the secret. Also threatened that if she wanted to continue being a part of my life, then she needed to learn how to think of the other people and how her actions might affect them. My husband fully agrees with me that this has gone on long enough and we need to set very clear boundaries and expectations. But my sister thinks my message was mean and I should have been nicer in my delivery. My mother obviously thinks I'm a major bad guy for this, but I'm not sure I even care about her opinion anymore. So I'm not the bad guy for telling my mother I'm more important than her. I'm not the bad guy for telling my daughter she's taking on too much responsibility. Hello, I'm a proud mother of two. I recently visited my daughter Kate, who had her second child last year with her wife Rosalie. Now I'm extremely proud of Kate for everything. She's a kind person, works a high-end job, and has a lot of great qualities. However, during my visit I noticed a few things and mentioned them to Kate. For instance, I noticed even though she is the only one working right now, Rosalie currently is a stay-at-home mom. She takes more care of the kids than Rosalie doesn't. She is the one who plays with them. My other grandson is 3, bathes them, changes diapers, etc. Kate also is the one who cooks more than half of the time, and almost always when she can. I told Kate that I'd noticed she was shouldering a lot of the responsibilities and that Rosalie maybe needs to help her a little bit more around the house. Kate is always tired because some nights she stays up to help the baby sleep and goes to work too. When I told her this, she took a lot of offense. Kate said that this was not a competition, that Rosalind gave birth twice and needed to regain her energy during this time and be appreciated. She mentioned the simplest thing Rosalind does around the house, like watering their plants, takes less than 10 minutes, and tried to convince me that she also does help out. She does help take care of the kids, but still, Kate takes care of most chores at nighttime. I simply mentioned that Kate needed to think of her own health too. She told me she thought of herself and her family as a package, and asked me to never comment about these things again. I agreed and kept my word, and just watched it as Kate got more and more tired every day, while she helped out. Even after I came back, Kate hasn't been as warm towards me ever since. She calls every now and then, and it's noticeably still upset with me. I'm beginning to wonder, was I the bad guy here about that? I'm not the bad guy for giving my neighbor our 2 small candles when we had a power cut. So last night, me and my husband had a power cut from 8 p.m. and the power didn't come back until 11:35 p.m. Background: my husband would love to live through an apocalypse and a world and spend a lot of time planning how he will deal with such an event should it happen. He also hates the fact that I don't mind lending things or giving things away to neighbors in need. I grew up in a close where everyone knew everything, and you could ask them for pretty much anything, and they will try to help. For example, my dad will see we have no onions for dinner, so me and my brother will go home to home until someone had a spare. This is something neighbors would also do. My husband grew up in a dodgy area, so is always a little guarded when it comes to neighbors. One neighbor has tried reaching out to be his friend, saying they should play video games together and let him a video game to play. So they event. So shortly after the power went off, my dad ran out also. Bored, I played chess and roads with my husband. Our children were sleeping and we have 7 candles lit, 5 tea light candles and 2 small candles. I had said I was going to bed as I was tired. It was approaching 10 p.m. and I have nothing else to do. My neighbor, the one that has tried reaching out to be friends with my husband, was talking to us through the window saying his 24 months old was still up and there was struggles to get him the saddle, especially he was nervous of the dark. I blew out the 2 small candles and gave them to him to borrow, and he said he will return them to us today. My husband was very angry. Once our window was closed, he told me I'm stupid for giving away our resources, and that I'm being selfish by going to bed as he wants to stay up. He said, when the world goes down, not to rely on me as I will give away all resources to other people. I pointed out the fact that we have 7 candles and he said he was trying to give them 3 tea light candles, but he burned himself on the hot wax. I told him he doesn't need to go to bed. He can go to gym, which is 24 hours and unaffected, but he said F off and continued on his rant about me saying selfish, forcing him to go bed. I just went to sleep, and 11:35 p.m. our power turned back on. He still seems grumpy today, so am I the bad guy here? Am I the bad guy for asking my girlfriend, who insists to leave an expensive place, to pay more? I need some advice here, and wonder if I'm unreasonable. I've been living in London for 7 years and completely hate it here. All this time, I have spent around 40 or 50% of my total income on rent. For the past 3 years, I worked hard to increase my salary and get a remote job, and now earn around 42Ks. I came from nothing. I don't even have a degree, so this is big for me. My partner recently changed jobs and now earns almost double what I earn. When we moved to our current place, which I did as a sacrifice for her because she really wanted to stay in London for 1 more year, I told her that it's the last year that I will spend in London because I really hate this city. I'm not a city person at all, or at least not a big city person, but I stayed here because of her job commitments. I don't even leave the house because of how much I hate it, and for a long time I was severely depressed and even gained 30 kilograms because of how much I hated here. We just had a discussion about moving to a nice 3-bedroom house about 1 hour and 25 minutes from my parents' place of work. She only goes to the office twice a week, and the rest is remote. The rent for this place is £1,050 per month, versus our current place, which is about £2,100 in a very bad area. The new place has 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and a garden, and it's a house. However, she completely refused to move outside London, citing that the 1.5-hour commute one train, 2 days a week, it's not worth it, and around £300 a month on commuting costs is not worth it. So as a counter-offer, because she's so insistent on staying in London, even though I hate it here, I'm willing to sacrifice for another year or so. Ask her to pay a bit more rent instead of paying 50-50 to make it a little more bearable and allow me to save more instead of living paycheck to paycheck. She's refusing this and made it to be all about the money now that she's double her salary. Am I unreasonable to think she should pay a little more now that she has the means to? Aren't partners supposed to help each other if one is in a much better financial situation? I'm not asking for much more, at most 10-15% more to help offset some of my costs. The job she just got is because I pushed her to get it. I did her CV and practiced interview questions with her. I even paid for all our living expenses for almost 2 months while she was waiting for the new job. I didn't ask for any money back except for rent. She also owes me about £7,000 from when my side business did well. I forgave this loan because at that time she was broke. She's making it about money, which is unfair. Why she's not playing the same game and support me unconditionally as I have in the past? So I'm at the bad guy for asking her to pay more if she's not willing to move somewhere cheaper. I'm at the bad guy for being offended for not getting a wedding invitation. Some background first. My husband partly grew up with his aunt. They did not share a household, but my husband was often at his grandparents' house for extended periods when his parents could not take care of him. They have been very close, being more like brother and sister due to the small age difference. But since he and she got married, the contact faded a little, also due to distance, but it was still cordial. I have been with my husband since we were both 16 years old, and we've known aunt for all those years. She was at our wedding. Further, it is important to know that my husband has one brother, and that he and his brother are the only nephews aunt has. So it is a very, very small family. Aunt only, her much older sister, her daughter, and my husband and his brother. Aunt became a widow and after a while found a new boyfriend. After some years, my husband told me his aunt was going to marry her boyfriend and he received an invitation. I was thrilled and happy for her. I immediately came up with ideas for presents. When I saw my husband look embarrassed, when I asked him what was wrong, he said he was invited, but I was not. He said he and his brother were invited, but not the wives. I was stunned. I had never heard of a wedding where the husband's wives were not welcome. Asked if it was perhaps a very small wedding with only the very closest relatives, but he said no. Honor and all, it was a wedding with many guests. I found this very hurtful, especially since I have been in the family for such a long time, and there has never been any problems between us. There was no explanation at all, just only you, not your wives. My husband was very angry and hurt too, and said he will not attend either if I was not welcome. Weeks passed, and then all of a sudden my husband gets an email stating that since several people cancelled, there was no room for me and my sister-in-law after all. I still declined. If I'm not welcome in the first place, I don't need to be a last-minute substitute to fill up the house. So we did not go. We did not send a card or present, since I was not welcome and did not feel I needed to. This was some years ago, and I have avoided the topic ever since. When I met aunt, I kept it friendly and cordial, but somehow lately the topic came up, and in the end, it came to the point that I told her I was offended. Now she says I'm a bad guy, and that it was perfectly normal not to invite in-laws. So I'm the bad guy for not being offended and not going even after the re-invite.